Why, hello and welcome to Saved by the 90s. I'm your host, Abigail Andosca, and I'm here to give you what you want, what you really, really want, and that's a huge dose of 90s nostalgia. And I am joined today by my wonderful co-host, my husband and love of my life, and lover of all things 90s, Mr. John Andosca. Hey, John, how's it going?
Thanks, honey. I'm doing good.
Are you ready to get started and travel back into time? Because before we begin, I should probably just mention that you actually went to high school in the late 90s. So are you ready to kind of travel back into your teen years?
I am old, yes. And I should mention, if you're hearing some heavy breathing or panting in the background, we have a third co-host. Our dog Rocky is here. So that's not just me having a really good time enjoying the 90s here. So it's him.
Rocky also enjoys all things 90s as well, right, Rocky? Yeah. All right. Anyway, so today what our topic is going to be 90s. We're going to travel back into time. I mentioned a little bit around this time is a really big life-changing event for all young teens, something that everybody starts looking forward to when they're in the 8th grade, and that is graduation. And the 90s really had a large, kind of a big outburst of TV shows and movies and even some songs that really depicted high school in the 90s that now we don't really see in this generation.
Yeah, it's like there was a big boom and influx of these kind of movies, especially in the late 90s and on TV. I mean, there was so many TV shows about high schoolers and people in high school, and that it is missing now, but it's definitely fun to look back at these movies. So they give you a dose of what the teen culture was like. And as you said, I was in high school in the 90s, and when you watch She's All That and all those movies, it was exactly like that.
I was just going to say, how accurate? It wasn't. No, I didn't really think so, because sometimes when I watch these movies and I see what the girls are wearing or what the boys are wearing, I'm just thinking, there is no way that would have ever flew by at my high school where I'm from. I wasn't in the 90s. I was a young preteen in the late 90s. But I watch some of these things and I just think there is no way that a high school would let these kids dress like that or act like that at the high school. But, who knows? I'm from a small town.
Well, it's even worse now.
Yeah. So. Oh, well, definitely. But, I was from a small town, and we kind of lived our teen years through these movies, through these big schools in California and New York and all these different big cities. So, as some of you may remember, when you were back in high school, you always had the yearbook superlatives. So that was like class clown, biggest sweetheart, biggest flirt, most athletic, things like that. So John and I made our list of class superlatives. John picked the boys and I picked the girls. And this is based on characters, actors or actresses as their characters from the different movies and TV shows.
Yeah, so we just picked our, whichever character we thought fit the mold best for that particular category.
All right, so starting off our superlative list is the coveted class clown. And this class clown is, what we picked is the character that we think is just funny. Like, they may not be meaning to be funny, but we saw them as kind of funny characters.
Yeah, they may not have been seen as the class clown, like in the actual world of their character, but like they were funny. They're in the world of their story, movie or show or whatever, but they were definitely funny and memorable. So
absolutely. So John, who was your memorable character? Who was your class clown?
Well, I had a lot of trouble with this one because there's a lot of great funny characters in throughout the 90s in these kinds of movies and shows, but I landed on a little guy by the name of Kenny Fisher from Can't Hardly Wait.
Absolutely.
Which is it's Seth Green's character.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kenny Fisher is funny because he just is this little white boy trying to be black, be like a gangster man, and his main purpose is what?
Getting laid.
And everybody thinks he's just so annoying. So, it's definitely good pick.
So yours was who?
Brittany Murphy as Ty in Clueless. And the reason I picked her is just because she's a redhead in the movie. But man, does she have so many little blonde moments learning how to be cool and to be with the in crowd. And she just got to make you kind of smile just because she is a typical, like, every class has a Ty. You know, they always want to be the popular girls and want to be in with it, but they're kind of still really goofy. They're still not 100% ready to let themselves go, and that's Brittany Murphy as Ty in Clueless, totally.
Definitely. Cool.
So our next superlative is Forever Sweethearts, and I have a good idea of who you picked for yours.
Okay, well, who do you think?
I'm going to say that you're going to pick Zach Morris and Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell.
You would think that.
I would.
But I didn't.
Because you were a ginormous Saved by the Bell fan, and I cannot believe you did not pick them.
I had them picked. They're represented elsewhere in this list, actually.
Okay.
So I had to give it up to another couple that I thought was worthy.
Okay, who was that?
Corey and Topanga Matthews.
Oh my God, this is why we're meant to be together, because I also picked Corey and Topanga.
So this is kind of like the newlywed game, actually.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I picked the same. Why did you pick them?
I picked them because, well, they're not only did they get together on their show, but even now they're still together technically on Girl Meets World.
Yeah.
They were just a great couple. They were obviously meant for each other then, and
I think they really showed the innocence of, like, young love. You know, like, their love blossomed in junior high, and it went all the way through the college years.
They were really the quintessential sweethearts.
Yes.
I mean, even like Zach and Kelly didn't get together until high school. They were together in middle school.
Yep.
Or like they were, kind of getting together then. So they're probably the longest represented
couple.
Yeah, probably.
Absolutely. And worst episode, and we just watched this actually recently on the reruns, when they broke up at the club, when Topanga was pretending she was from like a France, like, foreign exchange student, and Corey went out with the boys, and then they broke up. And that was, like, so sad when they walked away, and Corey came back thinking that Topanga was going to walk back. But have no fear, they ended up getting together, and all was well.
Yeah.
So, Forever Sweethearts, Corey and Topanga. All right, next up, should be couple. Next should be couple.
Okay, this one I don't know. For some reason this makes sense to me. So what we did here is we picked two different characters who are from separate films or shows, and then put them together. I have Preston Myers and Lainey Boggs.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Didn't think about that. Why did you pick them?
Well, because they were both kind of. I feel like Preston Myers should have been, maybe with somebody instead of obsessing over Amanda over those 4 years or whatever. And Lainey doesn't need to be with a D-bag, like.
You thought Freddie Prinze Jr. was a D-bag?
Well, he was at the beginning because he was that popular guy. He was with what's her name to start out with, and they wouldn't have been together. I think Lainey, as she was, could have been with Preston throughout high school. That's kind of how I thought about it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So I see what you're saying about that. Wow, that was an interesting one. I picked one that's kind of weird because both of my people, I literally changed this like 2 times because I just really didn't know. This was a tough one. But my people were kind of known as the villains of theirs, but I think that they should have been together. And that's Ryan Phillippe as Sebastian from Cruel Intentions and Rose McGowan as Courtney from Jawbreaker.
Oh, okay.
Because they were just, like, Courtney was just creepy, and so was Sebastian. They both were kind of like D-bags. They weren't nice, and they were really into themselves. Courtney was really into getting prom queen, and she ended up killing Liz Purr, because Liz Purr, everybody loved Liz Purr, and she probably would have been prom queen if she would have lived. And Sebastian was just into himself to try to like sleep with everything that walked, and then his prize possession was Reese Witherspoon. To sleep with her. So I think, they would have made a good couple.
That's interesting.
They may not have lasted, but
I like that you picked
villains.
Villains there.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Biggest school spirit.
Okay, this one, I had trouble with this one, but then it became clear to me the more I thought about it, and it's Rob Geller,
Really?
which is David Arquette's character from Never Been Kissed. Because here you have a guy who's in his, mid to late 20s, who decides that he loved the school so much he's going to go back and play on the baseball team, and he just needed to win a state championship or whatever the hell it was. Even that late in his life, he still was all about the high school sports. So you can't really.
And he also thought he would go pro if he played for a state winning. He thought that he could fool the major leagues.
Yeah. So that's just I couldn't pick anybody but him.
Well, mine is Melissa Joan Hart from Can't Hardly Wait as the yearbook girl, and literally in IMDb, that's how she's labeled, as she is the yearbook girl. And she's the one that goes around and tries to get everybody to sign the yearbook, and then they throw her yearbook away, and she freaks out and is like, "These are memories forever, people." And she just, to me, seems she has the most school spirit because she wants to make sure she gets everybody in her senior class to sign her yearbook. That is her goal of that night of the party.
That's a good pick.
Yep. So, next one. Biggest slacker.
Okay, this one is not an obvious choice, but I have two people that are tied for this.
All right.
Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, yes. That's a good pick. That is a good pick.
Yep. So they spent a lot of time in Principal Vickers' office and made fun of Daria and all that. So
watch music videos.
Yeah, so Beavis and Butthead.
That's a great pick. That's a really good pick. I totally forgot about them. Mine is Amber from Clueless, because she really didn't do anything. She always had an excuse for something. She got her nose done.
She had like balls flying in her nose. Yeah.
Yep, right. She couldn't have any balls flying near her nose. She always had an excuse for something of why she couldn't do it, or she was always on her phone. She never did anything herself. She was okay that she was failing, classes, So I picked Amber, definitely.
Great. That's a good one.
All right. Next up on the list is biggest D bag or biggest B for my case, because I'm picking the females.
Okay. Biggest D bag by far. You know who this pick is going to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
It is Elton from Clueless.
Oh, gosh. He makes my skin crawl.
It is Elton. He's the worst. He just not only is he just like you just look at him and you get that D-bag sort of feel, but he also left Cher in the middle of nowhere and caused her to be robbed at gunpoint because she wouldn't put out for him. So
turn away, Cher.
Turn away, turn away, and he's singing to her. It just this guy has a lot of issues.
He would be a guy that I would literally want to punch in the face if I went to high school with him.
And that's why that was the criteria exactly for this guy.
Well, mine is biggest B, and I picked Sarah Michelle Gellar as Catherine from Cruel Intentions. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but she is just nasty. I just can't stand her. Like, when I watch that movie, she just, ugh.
Well, there are a lot of, it's saying a lot because there are a lot of,
There's a lot of really bad.
Yeah.
That could have fit this. But she, to me, stands out the most. Like, I swear to you, every time I watch it, like, love Sarah Michelle Gellar as an actress, hate her character. She just makes me so angry just because she's just so mean. She uses everybody to get what she wants, and she just teases everybody. Like, she's just not a nice person. So, next one, Rebel Without a Cause.
Okay, so this is a character that is just cool that we decided, it's kind of the taking the title from the old James Dean movie. This is the quintessential cool guy for me, and that is without a doubt, 1,000% hands down. You can't get anybody cooler than Zach Morris.
Absolutely.
Just can't. It's just impossible.
And his ginormous phone.
Yeah. Everybody talks about the phone, and that's what he's associated with, but he didn't really have it a whole lot. It wasn't like in every episode and everything.
I think it was just unusual because at the time, having a cell phone was you were rich if you had a cell phone.
Yeah, well, his dad, Peter Morris, was a successful businessman. And I think he should be remembered for some of his, like, shirts and his...
Yes.
There was the one episode in particular, he has this Cosby sweater, and in fact, like, it's on the intro. It's the one where, like, you know, Kelly and him kind of finally broke up and whatever. But go ahead. Zach Morris is the coolest dude.
All right, mine is Kat Stratford, played by Julia Stiles on 10 Things I Hate About You. And she, like, literally, when I was younger and I watched that movie, she was my idol. I used to do my hair like her. I used to wear clothes kind of like her. I used to want to play soccer like her and learn how to play guitar. But she is just rebel without a cause. She doesn't care. She's going to do her thing, you know, reading Sylvia Plath. You know, wanting to go outside of Seattle for college, across seas. She wants to, I forget what, Sarah Lawrence is where she wants to go to college. And she marches to her own beat of her own drum. And I love her. Probably one of my favorite characters ever in a movie.
Great.
So, next one is most photogenic. And this one we switched genders. So you picked the female and I picked the male. And once again, I have to say, I think I know who you picked.
Well, just say it.
Did you pick Kelly Kapowski?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Of course I did. The head cheerleader and volleyball star, and she had, you know, she was in the girl group Hot Sunday that almost got a record deal, except for, you know, Jessie ruined that with her pill problem. But yeah, growing up, I mean, honestly, like, you know, I had a major crush on Kelly Kapowski.
So, what did you think of Tiffany as 90210?
I didn't really. I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't really. I really, like, back then, I don't even remember what her character was like or anything. So yeah. I never really got into 90210. It was a little bit before mine. It's a little more adult.
Yeah.
For me at that time. So you know, but even Kelly, you know, in the college years and Saved by the Bell and all that stuff. I mean, she was my girl before you came along.
Aww. Well, I hope I filled her shoes well. Next one for me is Paul Walker from Varsity Blues as Lance. You can't say no to those baby blue eyes of Paul Walker, and his smile is just gorgy. And I used to have a poster of him in my room. Sorry to say. And then, you know, and he was kind of the good guy. He was the injured quarterback, and he wanted James Vanderbeek to do well. And, you know, and so you can't say no to that.
He's a good looking dude. It's really a shame that he's gone.
And he was a good actor, too.
He was a good actor, but he fell into these movies like Fast and the Furious and ones that, like, you know, he wasn't known for his acting really, but he was definitely had a good on-screen presence.
Yes. All right. Next one, Class Brain, and this one for me was tough.
This was probably my quickest pick.
Okay.
Here. Stephen Urkel.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, who else could build a transformation chamber, a teleportation device? Their own RoboCop Urkelbot thing. I mean, you know, who could beat that? Right.
Mine was Lily Sabowski as Aldous from Never Been Kissed. And, I mean, she was on the math. She was president of the Mathletes. She got teased a lot, but she really knew how to fling back, you know,
she was the nerdy
insults.
girl in that movie that was that kind of Josie Grossi kind of, like,
wanted to be more related more to her, but she was supposed to relate to the popular girls. You know, and Lily Sabowski, she played a lot of really smart characters in the 90s. So, but I picked her for this one because that kind of stuck out to me because that was a tough one. So, next one. All right. We have most athletic.
Most athletic. This one was a little tough, but, like, you know, when you're going through in your head and you're doing the battle, the only guy that can win out is AC Slater.
Oh my gosh, because guess who I picked? I picked his girlfriend, Jessie Spano.
Most athletic?
Yes.
Is that because of Showgirls or?
No. I mean, it is because of her dancing. But, I mean, honestly, I just have to say that Jessie Spano had the most realistic body, like, type for the 90s, for 90s actresses, because she was kind of tall, but she was kind of curvy, you know?
Well, I guess I need to talk about Slater for a quick second.
Okay.
I mean, he was the quarterback for the Bayside Tigers football team.
Mm-hmm.
He was also a major wrestling star in high school. Went undefeated in high school. Didn't lose a match until college. But you know, when you say you pick Jessie Spano, it's kind of a weird pick. But if you think about it, what other like females weren't really represented as athletes in these movies or shows back then?
No, they weren't. They were more seen as like, do your hair, makeup, go shopping. Cheerleaders. And I was going to pick Kristen Dunst from Bring It On, but Bring It On is it literally was made in 2000.
Yeah.
So it didn't make it. So it couldn't have made it. But I picked Jessie Spano because this was tough, like you said. And I was going to pick Kelly Kapowski, but then I thought about the actress who played, Jessie Spano, Elizabeth. She literally had, like I said, she had the most realistic body type for girls at that time, I feel like, as a high school student, because I was tall and I was in shape because I played sports, but I had curves, like, I had hips and all that good stuff, and that's what Jessie Spano had, and she was in shape, and that's where I had to pick my most athletic from, and I picked based on her body type.
Gotcha, okay.
Because it was tough, like you said, it was tough.
Yeah.
For girls. All right, next one, biggest partier.
Okay, this one could be debatable, but Stifler.
Oh, of course.
American Pie.
Oh, of course, 100%. He's the one that had all the house parties on American Pie. So, and then he was the one, then in American Pie 2, which was made in 2000, he was the one that wanted to go have the big party summer at the lake house. So definitely him.
Yep, and there's also a little bit of, we know we might be going on too long because our dog is snoring. You might be picking that up on the microphone here, but he was having a good time.
Yeah. And then the biggest for me was Darcy Sears, which was played by Allie Lauder on Varsity Blues. And this was a tough one too, because they didn't really depict girls as like party hardy. Like they went to parties, but they weren't like crazy party goers like some of the boys were depicted. But I picked her because she was drunk almost, and she wanted, she did kind of crazy outgoing things, to get James Van Der Beek's attention, and, so I picked her. Okay, so the last but not least class superlative is our dropout. So who was your dropout?
Waldo Geraldo Faldo from Family Matters.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
And this is somebody who was just really, really dumb, basically, and it was just kind of like, you could see being a dropout. Although I should mention that Waldo did find himself as a chef and a culinary expert, and did make something of himself in that regard. But like before he came along, he was definitely in that dropout category, and just really a dense and one-dimensional character. But they made him into a lot more as the show went on and got more ridiculous.
Well, my pick is somebody which was one of your picks for most school spirit, and that is David Arquette as Rob Geller on Never Been Kissed.
That's a good one.
Because he was just really, he was stupid. And honestly, that kind of was David Arquette's character. He just kind of played the kind of dumb guy, and, he came back. He didn't want to get out of high school. He wanted to live his glory days as a baseball player. So I picked him.
Yeah, okay.
So now we have our graduating class, and we picked our class song, class quote, valedictorian, salutatorian, and we're giving an honors diploma. And this was movies and TV shows that we picked. So these aren't characters, but these are actual TV and movies that we picked. So let's start with our class song for this graduating class. And my class song that I picked was Bittersweet Symphony by The Verb. And I did a little research on this, but this was the biggest song used for graduation in 1997. This was used the most out of all graduating classes. So this was already used, but I love this song. I love the violin and then just the start with the guitars, the words. I just love the words. It's probably one of my favorite songs.
Good, that's a good pick. I went in a totally different direction here.
All right.
I just picked something that I like that was memorable from the 90s, but for a different reason because it was revived. And a lot of people were like, what is this song after they saw it in 10 Things I Hate About You, but Can't Take My Eyes Off of You by Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
All right.
As sung by Heath Ledger in the movie.
Oh, that's great. I love that you did that.
So it had a bit of a revival in the way of... wasn't as big, but like, you know how well, you were probably younger for this, but like, I mean, Wayne's World single-handedly, like Bohemian Rhapsody was a popular or was a known song, but like it made it into the legendary
song that it is.
And this scene, especially with Heath Ledger and everything that happened, it kind of brought the song to a different sort of status, especially with this younger generation.
And that is such a classic scene from the 90s too.
Yeah.
Him running away from the little like school security, and that was great.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Class quote. And now I picked something that's from a 90s movie, which isn't based as like a high school movie, but it's from a 90s movie. Okay. And I went all like, I have a feeling you went kind of like out there, but like for mine, I actually picked something that they might actually use. Like, mine is failure is not an option. And that is from Apollo 13, spoken from the great Tom Hanks.
Okay. All right. Well, I stuck to the guns here with the high school movie theme because if I would have went, I mean, I would have went with maybe something from Wayne's World or something ridiculous.
Party on.
But I went with the unforgettable and the often quotable, I don't want your laugh.
Oh yeah, from Varsity Blues.
You can't get a better quote than that.
Could you imagine that written on a banner, like in your sit? It's like on the banner in the back behind you guys. That's what we used to do at my high school. We used to write our class quote on a banner. Can you just imagine that? I don't want your laugh.
Yeah, it's all the delivery too.
Great, I love that. Good pick. All right, so now we're on to our we'll do a valedictorian. We're on to our first...
We should end with the valedictorian, but maybe start with honorable mention.
All right, let's do our honors diploma, and this honors diploma could be either a movie or a TV show. So,
and it's something that we think that maybe doesn't have it's kind of an honorable mention almost, where it's like, you know, it's maybe one of our favorites. We don't think it's enough attention, or maybe is kind of a hidden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine is my favorite movie of all time. It is literally one of my favorite movies. I could quote it. Mine is 10 Things I Hate About You. And the reason I got honorable mention and not valedictorian for me is because it mostly focused on senior year, but it mostly focused around prom, and it didn't really have a lot to do with graduation. But I think that this is such a good depiction of high school. You know, it's a lot about being pressured into something that you're not ready to do. You know, Kat's sister wants to be with the popular boy, but the popular boy just kind of turns out to be a jerk and is not what she expects. So she goes with the boy that really has been pining for her. And then it's about two rebels finding love for each other. And I love it. And it's actually based on The Taming of the Shrew from Shakespeare. That's like legitimately what it's based on. So there you go.
Okay, well, I went, getting a little bit different direction. It's something that is something that I always loved, and like that a lot of people haven't heard of or seen, including yourself. I'm assuming, but California Dreams.
Okay, you've talked about this. I've never seen this, but you talked about this a lot.
It was the show. It was kind of the Saturday mornings, like NBC used to have a block of shows, kind of like TGIF, but the Saturday morning version. And the one that would come on after Saved by the Bell was California Dreams, and it was about this, you know, another, and again set in California, where like Saved by the Bell was and everything else. A group of high schoolers that had their own band, and it was called California Dreams, and they had it was basically Saved by the Bell, but it was like almost musical. because they had different musical segments and like where they would sing all the time, and that was a big part of it. And it was good. A lot of the songs were really memorable. In fact, Jimmy Fallon on his late night show before he was on the Tonight Show did like a whole California Dreams reunion.
That's cool.
So for people that know the show, it was definitely a classic, and I don't know if it's on Netflix or anything, but if you have the chance to check it out, it's the same producers and everybody that did Saved by the Bell, so it's in the same spirit and everything. It's just got a musical vibe to it.
Great. All right, next up is our salutatorian. So this almost made valedictorian, and this was a TV show. We picked just TV shows.
So this was basically your favorite TV show, right?
Right.
From that
right.
era.
All right, you go ahead and you go first.
It's going to be no surprise. Let's say with the Bell.
Right.
I was thinking, well, maybe I should pick something else or whatever, but like, there's nothing that really comes close to this in terms of, when I was in like middle school and everything, and even younger, it's really when I was watching Saved by the Bell, and then when I was leading up to going to high school, this single-handedly shaped my thoughts and expectations of what high school was going to be like.
Well, that's funny because mine did the same thing for me.
Just because I thought like, we'll have our group of friends and we'll be running the school. There'll only be 6 people in the entire school, and we'll be really close with our principal and all that. Like,
go to your local burger joint and hang out.
I mean, I used to have like even like the girlfriend that I had in like 3rd grade. Like I used to think of like I used to even imagine what we'd be like in the opening of Saved by the Bell, like as the different characters and people in my life. I used to actually think about that. So that's why that I couldn't pick anything but that.
Well, mine was Boy Meets World because that was like big when I was, I was on TGIF, so that was big. And I remember we used to like, somebody would tape it and we would run home from the football games to watch and see what happened.
Well, you did that. I just didn't go to the football games, and I was just watching the show.
Yeah. Well, that's what we did. And I just remember thinking like, I want to be some Corey's Topanga, and I also wanted Topanga's hair, like more than anything. I was obsessed with Danielle Fisher. Fischel. Sorry. Okay. And so I loved Boy Meets World just because I love the love story in it. So, all right, now on to the biggest award, and that is valedictorian. And this is a movie that represents graduation in high school in the 90s. So who was your valedictorian?
Okay, my valedictorian was may seem weird coming from me or from a guy, but I thought about it hard, and I thought, I even looking back at what is the most quintessential 90s movie now. Mm-hmm. Not even then, but now more so, just looking back from this perspective, is Clueless.
Oh, that's a good one. I was not expecting that from you.
Because Clueless has, I know it's seen as maybe even a girly movie, mm-hmm. and my sister, who's even, she was like 8 when it came out, but she still had the big poster with Cher on it. And
I did too.
Thing. And we watched that movie all the time. Now, all the jokes went over our heads. Some of them went over our heads then, but like watching it now, just as if, and all the lingo and the
fashion
and everything, because they had the punk, like the skater, and alternative dudes in there that were kind of how does she describe them? Grungy, like whatever. And then there was like the preppy thing, and then I don't know. It was just very. It just is 90s to me, and it was dead in the middle of the decade too, in 95 when it came out. So I think it really covers. I think that there was kind of a dip because it started with John Hughes and all those movies in the 80s, but there was like a dip for a while. There wasn't any of that represent. I don't think we could think of any popular movies in the early 90s.
It was more TV shows that represented.
Yeah. So after Clueless though, then it was kind of like then all these movies started coming out, like the ones that we're talking about, the Can't Hardly Waits and all those kind of things. So I have a feeling I know what yours might be. That was the one I have a feeling yours is the one that I was thinking could be also, but I was like, I had to go with Clueless. So.
All right. Well, I love that you picked Clueless because that is another one of my all-time favorite movies. But my valedictorian is Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah.
And the reason, I mean, I know that's like so typical, but it's just such a well-done movie. And there are so many cameos from really well-known named people. So now they weren't then, but now they're huge. And I like it too because, and I don't think a lot of people really picked up on this, and I didn't pick up on this until I just recently watched it. And then one of my coworkers said to me like, "Oh my gosh, that movie, this is what this is." But it's represented as a yearbook. Like that's what it is the last party is represented as a yearbook and a class yearbook. And I love that they did that. It's the last big fling before everybody goes off. And it's just a fun movie to watch.
It's something everybody can relate to because you get to that point where you have to go off and like you might have regrets about what you did or didn't do in high school.
Right.
And then also like beyond that, like having having all those different kinds of characters represented and, doing it and having everything culminate into one night. I mean, I remember seeing that right before it was the summer right before I went into high school. So again, that was something that was like, wow, that'll the
music is great in it. And there is a relatable character for literally everyone. Everybody can relate to one character. And I like how there's like several different stories going on in it. It's not just one. I mean, there is a big main story. It's Preston trying to finally, fall in love with Amanda and finally declare his love to Amanda. But there's just little things throughout the entire movie. There's just all these different stories, like the band breaking up, then the band's getting back together, and then they're changing their name, and then they break up again, and then, Kenny Fisher is trying to get laid through the whole movie, and then, the class nerd is trying to get revenge on Mike Dexter, and Mike Dexter is trying to get all of his friends to break up, and it's just great. Like, it's such a good movie. I love it. I love how it depicts the 90s. I love all the different characters, and it's just a good movie. So...
Well, that's quite I think a list that we
right, absolutely
ended up with here.
Well, we hope that that's all we have for today, but we hope that you enjoyed our little trip down memory lane of our 90s nostalgia graduation edition, and to that we throw our hats in the air to our graduating class of the 90s, and we're going to sign off for the day. And I am Abby Andosca, and with John Andosca, and you are listening to this on Avail. You can go to availtv.com for more information, and follow Avail on Facebook and Twitter, and go ahead and leave us some of your comments on what you think was the best of the 90s and should have been part of our graduating class, and let us know what we missed out on there. Until next time, stay cool and whatever, dude.